I want to talk now about 49% of the British public who feels that diversity strengthens society. What do you think? Do you think diversity strengthens society compared to 64% of Americans? So less than half of people think that. Also 42% of people in the UK think there should be legal efforts to deport immigrants living here without permission. This is a big new survey by the National Centre for Social Research. Quite a number of different findings on it. I also found an interesting one that 59% of people in the UK think same-sex marriage being legal is good for society. Presumably 41% either don't think that or don't know. So we will probe all that with Mathew Hulbert, political commentator, who is with me now. Mathew, what do you think of the fact that less than half of people in Britain think that diversity strengthens society?
Hi Peter, great to be with you this afternoon. Well, I mean, I wonder what they think when they hear the word diversity, because for me it's absolutely a positive. You know, I think that our diversity is our greatest strength. And I sometimes wonder, Peter, if people somehow want to go back to some 1950s style kind of idyllic situation, which I don't think ever really actually existed in the first place, where everyone looked and sounded exactly the same. I wouldn't want to live in a country like that. Diversity is a strength.
I wouldn't necessarily want to live in a country like that either. And I think there are, what I think we know, because it's been clear a lot of the time, is that there are people who have the values of this country and there are people who don't have the values of this country. I am absolutely, I hope I'm not racist. I hope I'm not homophobic. I hope I'm not anti anything really. I definitely have strong views on a number of different issues, as you know, Mathew. But I suppose the point is that many people say, here are standards, here are things that we want to happen in our country. And there are a lot of people, including many immigrants who are coming here, who don't fit in, who don't embrace British values. And that, I would imagine, is where a lot of this is coming from.
Well, I mean, what I'd say to that is, you know, I'm a liberal and I don't believe in conformity, and you know, people should abide by laws. Of course they should, but beyond that, you know, I'm not much fussed if the way they live their lives is not how we consider to be how we want to live ours. I'd hate to live in that kind of conformist society. And I was thinking there, Peter, during the adverts that you know, I know you recently had on a certain Reform MP who has an issue with diversity, perhaps on our screens. I don't. When I see different faces, different kinds of people, different kinds of couples, different kinds of human beings, I celebrate that. I think that's a great good.
So there are things you've just said there, that there are things that are legal. It is perfectly legal, for example, to have situations where we have, for example, in the Muslim faith, where women don't have a leading role, but men do, and often they can't be in the same places as men. That, to me, is something that is a problem, but it's not a problem to you because it's legal and people should be allowed to do what they want.
Well, it would be it's a problem for me in as much as I obviously wouldn't agree with that. I absolutely believe in the empowerment of women, and can I say, I mean all women, including trans women. And so, of course, I wouldn't want to see a situation like that. And, you know, as a liberal, as a Democrat, I'd argue against that. So I think we don't have to agree with everything. We can argue against it without wanting it necessarily to be made illegal, or even if it is made illegal, to argue against it in a way which isn't arguing against the point, but which makes it sound as if you're arguing against the race of that person.
So I'm not arguing against the race of anyone. I'm not arguing against their faith necessarily, but there are clearly people who express legally held views, for example, that are views that are not British views, are not are not British values. They are British views because those people are British, many of them certainly. But we're in a situation where that diversity and that to many people, they feel that is a problem. So what would you say to people, for example, the 42% of people in the UK think there should be legal efforts to deport immigrants here living without permission?
Well, me and you have talked about this a lot, Peter. You know, I'm fairly liberal on immigration. I think immigration is a good thing to our society. And, you know, as I've said to you before, and we've had many arguments about this, if there were more safe and legal routes, not so many people would be taken to the seas, the dangerous seas, and trying to get into the country illegally.
But are you happy to say that it's a diverse point to have people who may or may not be legally here, who may or may not be rightfully here in our society, because that's a diverse point and you're happy with that diversity?
Well, you can hold two views at the same time. Do I think that they should be in a situation where they're coming here illegally? No, I don't. But if they're genuine, and if they're genuinely seeking asylum, for example, there should be more safe and legal routes for them. You can hold both of those views at the same time, and I do.
So if they're not here legally, what should happen?
Well, there should be a process which may well see them returned. But again, I'd say that should be a compassionate process that remembers that every single one of these individuals is actually a human being.
So even if you're making it up, and you're saying that you're oppressed and you're fleeing a war-torn area, but you're not, we should show those people compassion.
Well, I think I've just said, Peter, that there should be a process, but it should be, a compassionate process.
So we should be compassionate to people who are lying to us.
Peter, it should also be hard-headed. Again, you can be both at the same
compassionate
time.
and hard-headed.
Yeah, you absolutely can be that. You can treat people as... Peter, let me ask you, would you not want every human being to be treated as a human being? You would want that, wouldn't you?
Yes, but that can mean lots of different things. Matthew, we'll leave it there. Appreciate your time. Mathew Hulbert, the political commentator.